Hey, this is Kyle Crawford from Strong Dads. Strong Dads podcast would love to thank the Crimers Beer House for coming alongside of us. The Crimers Beer House was started in 1982 by the Crimer family, and since that time, they have definitely become a Cincinnati favorite. So if you're looking for an incredible meal in an incredible setting, definitely go down to Route 128 and check out the Crimers Beer House.
Not bad.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm. A minus?
Sure.
Welcome to Strong Dads. This is Merle Hutchinson alongside of Kyle Crawford, Mr. Traffic Jam Man.
Yeah, I was stuck in a little traffic jam today. It's all right, though.
You doing all right?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
After a long work shift, and then you're one exit away from your house.
I'm not even, I can see the exit. I'm less than a mile away, and daggone it. So, yeah, it was a doozy of a morning.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
It could have been worse.
You could have been in the accident.
I could have been. It's all right. I was probably a couple minutes away from being right in front of it. So
and from what it sounds like, it wasn't good.
It was not a good one. It didn't appear. So
all right.
Anyways, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm pretty good. Better than you.
Right.
Actually, I was sitting around. I was able to work on a few other things as I was waiting for you, so that's cool. I tweaked the show about 5 different times, so now I'm not sure even what we're talking about now. I took it all kinds of different directions, so I was like, he better get here soon because I'm going to have a whole different program going.
Well, that's good. Well, before we jump into the show, we established that we got a big golf outing coming up here, Merle. And you're on my team, and I expect I need the competitiveness. We're out there to win. That's it. I don't care if it's a church golf outing. We are there to win. So step up your game, all right?
Well, ask me how often I've been out there practicing and working it.
How often?
Not a flipping day. I have not.
Come on, Merle.
Well, I just found out about the golf outing last week, right? We just locked it down, and so
I expect you had last week, so you had 5 to 7 days in there to go.
I know. I'm. So this is actually kind of related to today's show.
Yes, it is actually. That's good. Yeah.
So the idea here is I am now going to consider myself the great underdog.
All right.
I am the underdog.
Sure.
I am going to be the guy who you expect very little from. But anything I do, anything I produce is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm going out there and expecting you to carry our team. So.
Oh, well, now your expectation just went way above what the potential is. All right. Well, how are you doing now besides the wreck and everything? You're good?
We're doing it. We're out there doing it.
Okay.
I, on the other hand, have been playing a lot of golf, and now that golf is coming to a screeching halt because the girls are now, they're done
That's
with
right.
school.
They're done with school.
My golfing by myself days are probably they're going to slow down a little bit.
Don't let him fool you, man. He's a heck of a golfer. What did you shoot, like a 77 the other day?
I shot a 76 the other day, so I'm getting there. I'm trying to keep that number right there all the time because I have a tendency I can get up into the low 80s sometimes. I want to stay in the 70s.
I shot a 77, and then I had to go back and do the back 9, and I was like, "What the heck?"
Anyways, what we got today? Let's break this down.
All right. So this is actually going to start with some fun here. The idea of the underdog, the underdog, the idea that you cheer for the underdog. And we're going to actually question that a little bit. So I want you to hang with us today in the psychology of what's happening with true underdogs versus those pseudo underdogs.
Ooh,
all right. And so there's a real thought process here that I had worked through, and really it's kind of shaped a little bit about how I work with people in my coaching on a regular basis. So anyway, and speaking about that a little bit, think of some of the true underdog stories that you like. What are some true underdog stories that you like?
Well, one of and I really like this movie, and it's based off of, and I think very loosely based off of the real story of Rudy. I love that movie. Just the little guy, finally getting his chance, and the whole stadium's rooting for him, and they carry him out.
He basically from water boy to finally.
It's a great underdog movie. It gets you fired up.
Yeah. What I've heard about Rudy in real life?
What?
I heard he's a real jerk.
Really?
I've heard that several times. Now, I don't know, but I just have heard that he's a jerk, which completely now changes how I sit and watch that movie. Because
Well,
I'm like, oh, man, like, I don't want him to be a jerk.
Well, Rudy, if you're out there and you're a strong dad, listen to this.
Jerk.
Don't be a jerk, but come talk to us. We'd love to hang out. I want to see how much of this story is actually really true. What's some of your favorite underdog stories or movies?
I love Remember the Titans.
Okay.
I love Remember the Titans. There's a lot of underdog themes in that. Everything from being the team, that wasn't expected to win the state tournament, but also just the coming together of the blacks and the white football players on the team during segregation and trying to have to make that work with that integration. So that whole story is just fun. And the music in that movie is good.
That is good too.
Got a lot of Motown Temptations going on there.
Yeah, I like that. And this is kind of very fitting. So the John Daly, when he first kind of started really getting popular in the PGA, man, he came out and he took it to him, right?
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't even look like a golfer.
No.
And everybody was like, Daly, and he was a drinker and a smoker.
Oh, yeah. I heard this, and John Daly, if you're listening, we'd love to know if this is true. I heard when that man showed up for a tour, he would go to the clubhouse and he would pay his fine because he wanted to smoke and drink out on the course. And in the PGA, you're definitely not allowed to do those. So he would just go in there and pay his fine, like, yep, here you go.
Yeah,
I'm going to do me, right?
This is my fee to get this privilege. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I knew he was a smoker and drinker.
Oh, yeah.
But
He's a smoker, drinker. He's a big-time gambler, but...
Yeah.
So John Daly went in the PGA Championship in 91. So that's been a couple
that's a
years.
good one. How about recently the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah,
Rich Strike.
Oh yeah.
80-1 odds. I think the greatest was like 90 or 90-1 odds.
Okay.
And so this was the second greatest underdog victory in Kentucky Derby history, which that got more airtime than any race just because people are like, no way, did you see that?
Yeah,
so that's a pretty cool story.
Yep. I think we would probably be remiss if we didn't bring up the old David and Goliath, right? I think we got it.
There you go. Now even see, biblical.
Yeah,
there
biblical,
we go.
Yeah, absolutely. So the David versus Goliath, the scrawny little kid, he gets it out there and flings the stones right at him. I think that's a good story.
That's a good one. You can't skip Miracle on Ice.
There you go.
Right? That was the 1980.
That was before my time.
Yeah, you weren't there, but the 1980 U.S. hockey team in the Olympics, who it was not even the final championship game. It was the second game leading to the finals, and they beat the Russians, the dominant Russians.
I like it.
Why is it that we like it really a lot when we beat the Russians?
Yeah, well, we definitely like it really now.
There was also one, Rulon Gardner, who was a heavyweight wrestler.
Okay.
Who wrestled the Russian wrestler, and I forget his name, but Rulon is just a big old fat farm boy. He does it is nothing like his physique is not one that anybody would desire.
All right.
And so he shows up, and he's this big old fat farm boy. I think he's from Minnesota or Wisconsin or something.
Okay.
And he shows up, and this Russian dude is stacked and packed.
Yeah.
He's and Rulon beats him in the final seconds, and just is going crazy.
Okay.
So that was fun to watch.
I like it. There's some good ones. We didn't even talk about Rocky. That's got
there you go.
That's a classic.
That's a classic. You make your kids watch that one when they're feeling bad about themselves, or they're like, no, you need to watch some Rocky.
Yeah, watch some Rocky.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, we better thank a few sponsors. We want to thank Kreimer's Beer House for being a sponsor of Strong Dads. Located down on Route 128 outside of Cleves, Ohio. Go down there and check out the Kreimer Beer House. Get yourself a fine meal and a couple of drinks, and you'll be good to go.
Awesome. Also, we'd like to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions for coming alongside of us. Really do appreciate them. Go up there, check them out, let them know we sent you there. Home decor, all type of landscaping stuff. They got a phenomenal facility up there, so go check them out.
Yeah. All right, so hang in there with us today because we're from the Cincinnati area.
Oh, boy.
And if you are from the Cincinnati area, you will completely understand our conversation today. If you're not, I'm sure that there are teams or situations in your area that you can quickly relate this to.
Yep.
In the Cincinnati area, I mean, we are basically a blue-collar kind of working mentality area. Yep. And we've always loved the underdog, right? Because, you're going up against the big New York teams and California teams, and we're just this little Midwest scrawny town, and we're trying to scrap through and get it done. And, over the years, we've always been huge at following our sports teams, whether it's Cincinnati Reds or Cincinnati Bengals. And it got to the point, though, until this last year. So from the 1990s, after the Reds were big in the 1990s, early 90s, after that, you talk about a drought. We have been in a drought.
Yeah.
And we just kept cheering them on.
Yeah.
Because in our mind, they were always the underdog.
Yeah.
And we were always every year waiting for this great, passionate victory that would sneak out from the jaws of defeat, and they'd be the victor. And we just couldn't wait for it to happen, and it just wouldn't, and it wouldn't. Yeah. And I was catching that while I was also coming into a lot of my counseling work. Yeah. And I started to draw some analogies that people who walk into counseling and coaching typically are not coming in there because they're having a great day.
Yep.
They're having a not very good situation in life. And, as a young, eager counselor or coach, oh, man, they're coming to me, so I really want to embrace that and I want to help them. And after a number of years of doing that, I found myself just going, what am I doing? Why am I putting so much heart into so many of these situations? And what it was is I thought everybody was the underdog. All right? Gotcha. I thought everybody walked into me like they were on the upside down side of life. And so everybody was feeling very defeated in whatever situation they're in. And they kind of grabbed my heart, and so I became more passionate about trying to help them. And then you start to see, you know what? This guy might be in the position he is in life because of what he's doing or not doing. The Cincinnati Bengals might be in the position that they are in life, with the exception of the past 2 years, really, because of what they have been doing. Yeah. All right? And the Cincinnati Reds, and whatever team you want to put in there, and whether we use sports analogies or just human life. And so I really started realizing there's a difference between an underdog and just a dying dog. There's a difference. Yeah. And so part of this in my coaching work is and it really went more from counseling to that point to coaching, because coaches can call it out. Counseling, you have to, that whole premise of counseling is a lot more passive. And coaching, that rung with me, and that's why we call ourselves coaches now at Rock Solid Families, because we still love an underdog. So don't get me wrong there. We're all about the underdog. But most people want to claim underdog, no, I shouldn't say most, many people want to claim underdog status, and they're not an underdog. They're a dying dog. They're not doing a frickin' thing to help themselves.
Well, and that was going to be the question I was going to pose. So when we look at this idea of the difference between a dying dog and the underdog, I think almost what you're getting ready to say, I think, is a great place to differentiate between the two, because I think it is important to know that they are different. Because, when I look at this, similar to what you're talking about with the sports teams, sometimes I feel like I want it more than that team does, right? Or more than what they're presenting. So I think that a big place to start when it comes to difference between the two is the willingness to put forth the effort. And I'm sure you see this all the time in the coaching world, where you'll have a couple come in and it's like, these are the steps that I know have been tried and true, right? And it's different for every couple, but in order to become, get out of that dying dog state and become the underdog, you have to put forth their effort, right? You have to. I mean, so, and back, because the sports world always resonates really well with me when I look at a March Madness, which they always talk about the Cinderella story, right? The underdog team. It's like a lot of times the reason that they're seen as an underdog and not just that dead dog is a lot of times prior to the tournament, a lot of these teams aren't really seen from people, right? No one gets a perspective of these teams, and then they show up and they're on the big stage and they get to showcase their skills and abilities. And the reason that I like that underdog is because you do get to see that the whole year they obviously put forth time, effort. They were working on their game, although it wasn't seen by anybody. All of a sudden they show up for game time and they're like, well, I'm not as scared of you. I'm not, the David Goliath mentality that I'm not scared of you just because you're Duke or you're Kentucky or you're Kansas.
Right.
And we're nobodies because they put forth the whole effort. Where if they were to show up to that tournament time and they hadn't put in all that work, they may be seen from a lot of people as an underdog. But realistically, they're just a dying dog because they didn't put forth the effort it needed to become that, get that status.
But they desire the status and recognition as the underdog. And that's like that woe is me. Right? Like nothing ever seems to work out for me. And so part of, in Strong Dads today, what we're really talking about is learning to differentiate between an underdog and a dying dog and what we do with that. Because if we don't, for the longest time, I found myself always rooting for the teams that were underdogs. And I finally said, no. And I think I've shared this in other shows. I've come to realize a Tom Brady, anybody who ever used to go against the Patriots back in the day, and now Tampa, but would go against them, I'd be cheering for whoever would be going against them. And I've come to realize, no.
Yeah.
No. I mean, in his case, in Brady's case, the fruit indicates that he puts in the work.
Absolutely.
Okay. Is he perfect? Is that system he came from perfect? No. But no system is. Yeah. And so it's just why am I always cheering for the guy just because in my mind I perceive him as an underdog? But really, he might be a dying dog.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which going to one of the early things, at least in what it was depicted in the movie, one of the first things I said, this idea of Rudy. So if you put Rudy in the stage of the Notre Dame football team, right, this prestigious football program that has the big freaking dudes, right, and then you show somebody, and again, this is a depiction that Hollywood put it, that this small little scrawny guy, coming from basically nothing, the coal mining area, and he comes to Notre Dame football, and I think the reason why at least that movie resonates with me because it's he was willing to put forth the effort. He did put in the work. Right. So I can actually say he is an underdog because, at least, again, the way it was depicted, that he was willing to put in the work.
Did the work.
But there were some things that were stacked up against him that were, again, he had no say in his stature. You can't say I want to be 6'4", 280 pounds. That's just not something we can do. So, in the case of the Rudy, situation, I think that to me that is a perfect depiction of someone who is a true underdog. There was things stacked up against him that he couldn't change, but he wasn't going to use that as a crutch. He was going to say, okay, this is where I'm at. This is the position I'm at. I'm going to put forth effort to try and better myself and put myself in a position to maybe no longer one day be an underdog. Now I'm just one of the dogs in the fight. Yeah.
So it speaks to our desire, the people who are enjoying the attachment to the underdog, they can connect because in their own life they probably see themselves as a less than the next class above, so to speak, that they're looking to get to, right? Yeah. And so they're not at the pinnacle. They're not at the top of the mountain. Yeah. And so, which involves and includes most all of us, right?
right.
Most all of us. And so all of us have this connection to the underdog. But as we move through here, we want to really move to how we use this in parenting, how we use it in our own work, how I have to use it for myself. I personally have struggled with certain areas, just like all guys have. I remember the first time I was called out as the dying dog. That wasn't the phrase that was used, but I was a lazy student. Okay, I was a lazy student, and I could squeak by. So I could just squeak by and get my B's, get some C's, get some A's, but mostly B's, and I could squeak by. And I got into college, and in particular, I had a professor, Dr. Thuray, who was a strange dude that I really came to love and respect as a teacher because he really Well, he called me out. I had him for a botany class.
A who?
Botany, study of plants. It's. I'll teach you about that later.
Botany? I've never. Is that bad?
I'm going to cut that out. Like,
okay.
Don't even show your ignorance that you don't know what botany is.
Botany?
Botany.
Is that like horticulture stuff?
Yeah, kind of like horticulture.
Then just call it horticulture. Why botany?
It's the study of plants, okay?
All right, anyways, continue.
That is ridiculous. I'm embarrassed for you at this point. You're a dying dog, not an underdog.
I'd be willing to bet someone else that's listening to this right now had no idea what a botany.
Oh, no. Everyone out there.
If you are.
No.
Yes.
No.
Team Kyle here.
Let's move the show on. This is ridiculous.
All right, anyways, your dog.
But basically, I was creeping by with like C's in his class.
Okay.
And he called me up once at the end of a class, and he called me Hutch. Hutch, old fellow.
Really?
He said, he was, Hutch, old fellow, come here. And he calls me up, and I mean, he gives me a tongue lashing.
Really?
Yes, right there. He's like, what the heck, are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. You are better than this. You are trying to shortcut this. I mean, he comes at me, and I'm kind of blown away. My eyeballs like saucers, like, Dr. Thuray. Because he saw more in me, but he saw that I was just trying to take the lazy way through.
Yeah.
And he told me, he said, I won't accept it anymore.
Wow.
I won't accept it. If you're not going to make your best work, then I'm going to give you Fs. I was like, dude, so it's either an A or an F? Yep, that's what it's going to be. And he called me out that strongly, and that was a gift. Wow. That was a gift. And so I want to be careful and to say, like, those other people. No, we all are capable of being dying dogs. We all can lose interest in things, not be motivated by things, but we also should not claim underdog status when we simply are not doing the work.
So that brings up a great, kind of maybe part of this discussion. What do we do then in the realm of the parenting world? So I'll take my girls, for example. Say I have, Ava is struggling in whatever she, right now I'm attempting to teach her golf. So she's struggling in golf, right? And we're going out there and we're working on things. Like how would you, obviously this professor was able to present a little bit of criticism in a way that he obviously knew you were going to take, because obviously there's a right and a wrong way to approach somebody. What do you think is a way to approach our kids with this idea that if we see them struggling in something and we see something in them that they potentially are not seeing in themselves, how do we attack that? How do we go after those kids, to be a better parent to them, to actually bring them out of that dead dog status and hopefully, raise them up a little bit? Yeah,
some major points here. The first one is early on, never accept excuses from your kids. Never accept excuses. Excuses are just our way of deflecting responsibility. All right? Here's the hard part. They get that from us. They get it from us. If we are an excuse-making adult in the house and they see that we didn't get this done because of this, we didn't go here because of this, we always have something there. It becomes sort of the language in the house, and we don't even know that that's what we're teaching, that we're teaching our kids to be dying dogs, victims, rather than being underdogs, all right? And so the first thing as a strong dad in the home, never an excuse is to be laid out, all right? It's just not. Even though it could be legit, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it puts us back on our heels rather than in a forward-going, empowering solution mode. So my first thing to move from dying dog to underdog is, okay, no excuses. Back off, all right? The second part of that is so much of this is work ethic. We do not really understand the absolute value of work ethic. Work ethic is something that is become somewhat of a lost parenting skill that in terms of teaching it. And a lot of that has to do with us as parents not being around, not being engaged. We might have a good work ethic. Maybe we go to work every day and we work, but we're not around to see what our kids are doing. And so if I'm not around and my kids are just hanging out, sitting on the couch all day, not having any particular chores, doing things just half shot and nobody's really addressing it, I am, without even knowing it, I'm turning them into a dying dog. Okay? So early on, the idea that, in age appropriate, I'm not talking about expecting a kindergartner to do what you would expect an 18-year-old to do, but early on to say, hey, you know what, we've got to do some work around the house here today. Give them the vision. So today we're going to get that garage cleaned up. And so when we're done, I want it to look like this. And we give them the vision. And then at that point, and you know what, it's great that the job gets long and hard. Don't shy away from that. Hey guys, listen, I'm right here with you. I'm right here with you. I know. It looks like we probably got about another hour. Let's stick in there and let's do this. Okay? And do not allow your younger kids. Okay, again, and I'm saying this in common sense, so let's not take this off as some kind of slave labor silliness like that. This idea of us saying, no, we're part of a team. Let's hang out here. When we're done, we'll celebrate it. Maybe we'll go get an ice cream or something like that. But we're going to finish this job, all right? And when you're done, you do celebrate it, especially for those little kids, because they want to see that it was worthy. You as the adult, you might see the worthiness in the garage being clean. A kid doesn't see the worthiness. They don't really care whether your garage is clean. So you have to address their worthiness in it, maybe with a reward of some sort.
Well, Merle, what you were saying there, I think is so, as dads out there, man, that idea of the we are in this, we're going to accomplish this. I think that is an incredible place to be with your kids. Because that first statement you were talking about, the excuses, that I feel like, especially putting myself, with my girls, like if I put them in a difficult situation and I'm not willing to jump in there with them, the excuses are going to be very natural, right? Where if they say, well, Daddy's in it with us, we can do this, right? And it kind of builds them up and really gives them a little bit more confidence. So I think that idea of being in there with them, so if you currently find your kids or yourself in that dead dog type mentality, man, encompass and put people in your life that can surround you to help build you up. Because again, going back to the sports analogy, if you take a 1 versus 5 in a basketball situation, heck yeah, they're an underdog, right? But in their mind, they probably are thinking, well, I'm a dead dog. There's no way I can do this. But then you put 4 other people around them, and now that underdog status comes back, and now we're not just maybe an underdog. We're just a normal dog. We can accomplish this. So I think the idea, when you were talking about cleaning up the garage and being in there with their kids and letting them know we're in this with you, investing that time to make sure that they can see the fruits of their labor afterwards. Again, they're not going to see the importance of that at that time, right? But to be in there with them, to invest that time with them, I think is crucial.
Just the fact that they look up to you and you're over there getting dirty with them. Many of our kids just love following their hero, and you happen to be their hero, right? And so they'll follow that. Another thing you pointed out, a really good point here when you talked about the idea of the underdog in basketball. So these guys have not even been on the big scene. They've been winning their small little games in their own little conference tournaments or whatever. And so, the cool thing that you hear all the time from kids who grew up in poverty, when they become adults and maybe they become successful, you'll ask them like, well, what was it like when you were young? And they'll say, well, we didn't even know we were poor. As a strong dad, I do not need to point out the deficits in our life or my kids' life. I do not need to point those out, because as soon as I point them out, especially inappropriately as an excuse or a blame, I've automatically handcuffed my kids. So I do not want to point out the deficits. You might think it's a deficit. Well, we don't make as much money as the guys down the street. Why even point that out? Your kids, that means nothing to them at all. As soon as you point it out, right away your kids jump into this victim mode, this dying dog mode of, well, if we were as rich as you, if we had what you had. No, you don't need to point that garbage out. That's why it's important that your kids don't know every single dime that you make or what the neighbors make.
Right.
They don't need to know that, because it carries no value other than to handicap them.
Yep, I like it. It started making me think of that. And we were talking about this before. That in 2 Thessalonians 3:10, it talks about this idea that it says for even when we are with you, we gave you the rule: the one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. And man, I think that this is a great place for us to have this mentality that we shouldn't even allow the option of being unwilling to work with our kids.
Yeah.
Don't like, just like you were talking, like, don't even let them realize that they're not, that they are in this status, right? Just this is what we do in this house. We are workers. We're not going to use excuses, because the ones who are unwilling to work they're going to go hungry, and so we shouldn't even allow ourselves to be put in a situation where the ability to not even work is even an option.
Yeah, as Christians, we are always called to charitable causes. As a counselor and coach, I'm always seeing situations where charity could be extended. All right, people need help.
Yeah.
And we are called to answer that. But the key word that you mentioned in Thessalonians 3:10 was the one who is unwilling to work. And we have to be very, very quick as parents to realize that I'm not going to accept that unwillingness.
Yeah.
Right? Because now when I accept this as, they must not be able. No, when I can see that somebody is able but unwilling, I cannot perpetuate the garbage, right? And so, it's really changed the entire way that I go about parenting, that I go about coaching. I work with people all the time, and when they come in, I get to know them. And I've said before, one of my very first questions always to them is, so are you coachable? And I always get a yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure, I'm coachable. And then we move forward, and I always give homework. And the homework, one, it's meaningful. It's something that's practical and can be used. But the homework is actually just as much for me to see whether they are willing or unwilling to do the work. And if I get 2 or 3 sessions in and see that there's been little to no work done, I terminate my work. All right? I say, okay, obviously, you've not shown me that you want to do any of this. And I've been guilty too. Tell me when you're ready to do the work, and I can't wait to jump on board with you.
Yep.
But if you're not willing to do the work, you're a dying dog.
Yep.
I want to take on the underdog.
Yep.
I do not want to take on the dying dog.
Yep. I've heard my brother, he's in a management position with a restaurant group, and one of the things that they talk a lot about, don't take this incorrectly, is they want employees that are fat, faithfully available and teachable.
There you go.
That's what they want for their employees. They want, and I think we should want that from our kids. We should want our kids to be fat. Again, that's not actually like we don't want them to be fat, right? But using that acronym, like, we want them to be faithfully available, teachable. Allow our kids to know that is the standard that is going to be approached in our house. That you have to be teachable. You have to be willing to put forth the work. You need to be faithful in showing up in this house, what we do in this house. This is what we are. This is who we are. Be available. Be ready to do whatever work needs to be accomplished for that day. And then, like I said, be teachable. Be willing to be a sponge. Soak up everything that's going on around you.
Yeah, take it in. So anyway, kind of our walk away here is this can be applied to all areas of our life. Sure. Right, that we visit in every day, whether it's in sports, whether it's in parenting, whether it's in our government, we look at this in welfare systems all the time. I see it in my own coaching, and so we are actually called to help discern and get them to realize whether they're being the underdog, which is an okay status to be, or whether they're being a dying dog, and to tolerate people who are doing nothing or little to help themselves, and yet basically shielding themselves with blames and excuses. If we don't call that out, we are just causing more problems for them and us. And so it's so much part of us as strong dads that when we work with other men, that when they're belly aching about the challenges or whatever, and listen, we all get in that. our point is like, okay, at what point are you going to do something? You and I were talking before. I know you're struggling, but you're on the edge of knowing you've got to do something.
Yep.
You've got to do something. And you're going to do it because you're not going to accept being the victim, all right? Because you know better than that. And I shared some of my own stories of times where I felt like, I feel stuck, blah, blah, blah. And at some point, you can't be the dying dog. You've got to own it.
Which I think, in talking about, some of the struggles I'm dealing with as of recently, it's good to allow yourself to go through the process, but also just not sit and somber in that. And then to have people, again, going back to that we're in this, like have people that are surrounding you that are like, okay, take some time, go through the process, but at some point I'm going to snap you out of this and we're going to work on getting to a place we need to get to.
All right. Good stuff. So, hey, our challenge this week is to really look at yourself as well as life situations around you and start to differentiate whether you are allowing a dying dog status, a victim mentality, or whether you're an underdog. Like you're doing all the work, you're doing everything, but maybe things aren't just working just the greatest yet. Okay, all right, keep plowing, keep moving forward, but just take a look at that. And also, from a parenting perspective, man, what a great lesson! You will never hurt your kid when you teach them things like ownership and perseverance, work ethic, man, like those are great attributes that your kid can use for the rest of their life.
Love it. Yeah, I hope you guys are out there. I hope you're having a good week. Man, share the heck out of these shows. We're still putting shows out every week. We hope you guys are getting meaningful, topics, conversations you can have with your wife and your kids. We are by no means ever to claim to be experts, but we're just trying to figure this out along with you guys. And these are just some of the things that we go through, some of the struggles we're having. So, yeah, we really appreciate you guys out there. Thanks so much for Kramer's Beer House and Casey Outdoor Solutions. Really, thanks so much for them. Check them out. Let them know we sent you to those places. So.
All right, very good. So do us a favor, go out there and be a strong dad.
Yeah.
Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Casey's offers a wide selection of plants, landscaping materials, home and garden decor, and gifts for every occasion. Casey's is committed to providing exceptional service, a unique shopping experience, and value to every customer. Stop in and see what makes Casey's so unique. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or call 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home.